If you didn't know already, graffiti is a form of art that can be sprayed, scratched, or scribbled into a wall in a public place. Graffiti was invented thousands of years ago by our ancestors that would write or draw on walls by carving images inside of the caves. Graffiti is a form of self-expression for many artists, and it can be used to tell a story. Graffiti has had a bad reputation due to people not liking how it looks, but most graffiti artists try to go for meaningful art that sometimes can or can't be understood by the viewers. The habitus theory was created by Pierre Bourdieu, a French sociologist, anthropologist, philosopher, and public intellectual. Bourdieu was influenced by Max Weber after he retained an importance of domination as symbolic systems in social life, as well as the idea of social orders, which would ultimately be transferred by Bourdieu from a sociology of religion into a theory of fields. To start off, habitus is a habit and a skill in which society has been used to doing for a long time. Usually they all share the same backgrounds, social class, religion, ethnicity, and education. People catch on to something and see it as a normal habit. I would describe it as a cultural tradition to simplify this. People catch on and it shapes future social actions. In my neighborhood, we are very cultural. There are a lot of Latinos and Latin American people living here with a lot of pride. A way in which we show this is with art, by having our streets filled with murals and graffiti that show pure Latin culture that gives our neighborhood color. This would be an example of the habitus theory because we are a community filled with mainly Latinos that have gotten used to graffiti. It's been used for many generations that it's become normalized, and we perceive it as something beautiful rather than as vandalism. Around my neighborhood and many places around the United States, there has been a lot of graffiti and murals with pictures of George Floyd and with the words Black Lives Matter and Justice for George Floyd. It created a movement and it lets people's voices be heard through art. I recently came across a video on TikTok that shows the neighborhood where George Floyd was killed in. As you can see, there is a lot of graffiti and destruction. Buildings were burnt and broken into. This is not a tourist site, and it's currently a healing community. It suffered a lot, and it should be kept alone. The streets are filled with symbols and many tags that show the anger they have towards cops. The floors are filled with names and people who have been victims of police brutality. This shows one of the many ways in which people have used graffiti to revolt. Another event in which caused people to create political graffiti was when Donald Trump was elected. Not many were happy about it, so people created a lot of murals and graffiti art to show their hate for Trump. They would also expose who he really is and show all his ugly. These peaceful graffiti protests connect back to the habitus theory as they use graffiti as a structure to transfer the future by demanding for change. Habitus revolves around meaningful practices. A way in which graffiti has become a meaningful practice is by helping shape communities. It gives them an idea of how the neighborhood is and it reflects on its people. An example would be how my neighborhood has many murals that depict the types of markets we have, our transportations, and even the problems we face. There has been a lot of gentrification recently, and many people are getting evicted and thrown out. Murals have been put up to bring attention to this problem, and it lets people feel like they finally have a voice, or like they will finally be heard. Bourdieu hypothesizes that children internalize these dispositions at an early age, and that such dispositions guide the young toward their appropriate social positions, towards the behaviors that are suitable for them, and foster an aversion toward other behaviors. This can be used to see how children that are surrounded by graffiti their whole life get sucked into the normality of it. Today, I interviewed my cousin, Alexis Rodriguez, who is really into graffiti and grew up in a household and neighborhood that taught him about it.
I've been doing graffiti for about 1.5 years. What made me want to start doing graffiti is one of my big brother's friends. He kind of influenced me to start doing it. No, I haven't made any political graffiti, but to each their own. I believe it can send a message to others because it's a form of art and a form of expression. Graffiti to me is art, and it's a way I could express myself and express my creativity.
And how?
Yeah, the city and the city where I'm from, Richmond, has played a big role of the influence of my liking for graffiti because each city containing murals and graffiti. Yeah, most of all my brothers were artists, so they kind of influenced me to start doing it.
Alex's story about his experience with graffiti is an example of what Pierre Bourdieu theorized. Alexis grew up in a city and family that normalized graffiti for him. He grew up seeing his older brothers do it, so he learned it and began to do it himself. He basically internalized it. If Alexis had been born in a suburban neighborhood, he would see graffiti differently. To conclude, graffiti has had its bad reputation for too long now. Not many understand how meaningful and symbolic it is. Many people grow up looking at graffiti and it becomes somewhat a habit, which again relates back to the habitus theory that helps shape a society.